practices, social reintegration for former security detainees, religious education and prevention of violent extremism in Southeast Asia, practices in 6 countries, etc. Our third speaker is Mr. Professor Syed Mesanthan. He is joining us with online. He is also the Assistant Professor of Southeast Asian University, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Thammasat University. He received PhD in Southeast Asian Studies, Faculty of Arts and Social Science, University of Malaya. His research interest covered the Southeast Asia studies, focuses on Malaysia and Brunei, language, socio-culture, economy, and politics, and the Muslim society in Thailand and the ethnographic sociology. Our fourth and last speaker, Dr. Safira Mustaqila, MA. She completed her undergraduate degree in Arabic and continued her master's degree at the postgraduate program of UIN Ar-Raniry, BANDA, Aceh, by majority in Islamic studies. She has recently completed her doctoral program at in Sunan Kalijaga, Jakarta, in Islamic study, majority in Islamic thoughts and Muslims. Societies with a dissertation title, Being Non-Muslim in a Sharia Land, the Life Stories of Christian Policewomen in Aceh, Indonesia. She is currently a permanent lecturer at the Faculty of Sharia and Law of UIN Ar-Raniry, BANDA, Aceh, Indonesia. Now, first of all, I want to invite Mr. Hisham Muhaimi. He is the project coordinator of Initiative to Promote Tolerance and Prevent Violence, Malaysia, to present his presentation. As we have limited time, I request the speaker, please conclude your session within 15 minutes.
Does this work? Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here today sharing this stage with fellow distinguished speakers. And thank you, Madam Moderator, for the introduction. A little context of what we do at the Initiative to Promote Tolerance and Prevent Violence. Next slides, please. Can you skip to slide number 3? We have 2 areas of work that are mainly focused on the prevention of violent extremism, and second in freedom of religions and belief. We do research and development, and most recently this year our focus has been to provide capacity building training for diverse stakeholders that are mainly for enforcement authorities, government agencies, civil society actors, and youth. Slide number 3. Yeah. Okay. 4, please. Next slide. These are some of the works that we do when we monitor the research and developments with regard to freedom of religions and belief. We have come up with several databases. This is the first one, that we measure the laws and legislation and gazetted fatwas that impact freedom of religions and belief. We provide a map of Malaysia with the amount of restrictions that we have in Malaysia. Next. We also provide a detailed breakdown of the database about the restriction on FORP. Next. And also, lastly, we documented the cases of tension, of conflicts that are motivated by cases of tensions and conflicts in Malaysia. We study 4 types of events, which is mainly on protests, terrorism, vigilantism, and violent clash. If you go to a website and we click on each of these, next slide, please. Yes, this one. If you go to our website at initiate.my, you can find a website there, and each of these dot on the map is actually represent one of the cases that we documented. And when you click one of these dots, these are what is going to appear. And we study the type of consequences, government involved, type of solutions, etc. Next slides. Now, I will go to the topic that are given to us today. This is a conversation. We want to have a dialogue on violent extremism and involvement of women and youth in Malaysia. I think it's first wise for us to set the context of what is happening with regard to the work in Malaysia. Firstly, I would love to talk about how the government and CSO cooperation is like in Malaysia. So basically, when we talk about security, usually there's two things. There are hard approach and there's also soft approach. Hard approach is the duty is mainly bore by the Royal Police of Malaysia through its Special Branch Counter-Terrorism Division. So before this, it's the way that the EA or the Special Branch works is via laws and prosecution of suspected terrorists. But since several years back, due to the declining number of cases in Malaysia, the work at EA has been more preventive than suppressive. If I can quote the director's words itself, she said that 80% preventive and 20% has been suppressive work. Now their focus is more towards public education that includes mentorship, education and engagement at the grassroots communities. Secondly, for soft approach, it was mostly borne by the government through the Southeast Asia Regional Center for Counterterrorism, SIASAT. Apart from that, we also have academics and research institutions like ISIS Malaysia or ISTAC. I have to acknowledge Dr. Daniel in the room with us today, which ISTAC stands for International Institute of Islamic Thoughts and Civilization. So these are part of the government bodies or agencies that do soft approach. For us at Initiate My, among the lessons learned post-war on terror is that in order to address the risk of violent extremism, we believe that it requires multi-stakeholder approach or all of government and all of society approach to be manifested, and working in isolation will not benefit either side, but it is just a loss. Hence, this puts CSOs at the best interest to carry out more PCVE work, particularly on CSOs that work on the youth peace and security and women peace and security agenda. Right now in Malaysia, there's only a few numbers of CSOs that work on PCVE. There's only 5 that include us. And unfortunately, we have to admit the fact that even the 5 of this small number of CSOs, we cannot do every advocacy on our own. We need more CSOs in this space. We need to democratize the space more. But the problem right now also, like most CSOs work on human rights issues, but they still have PCVE elements in their advocacies. But because of the several challenges, they cannot do work on PCVE or extend their work scope for PCVE as well. So these challenges include, firstly, the lack of adequate training and specialized expertise in PCVE to design impactful programs. Even if they do, because of this lack of specialized expertise, we are talking about a lot of intricacies when it comes to violent extremists, right? We're talking about ideology, politics, psychology aspect to think about, and designing the programs requires a lot more nuances and understanding, which they don't have that in the very first place. Secondly, they also face challenge with regard to scarcity. Sorry, please stay the same slides. When resource scarcity refers to how there is a very limited budget and human capital with these CSOs. The competitive funding ecosystem has always made it difficult for CSOs, especially in order for them to be sustainable. Next. Second context in Malaysia, I would like to also talk about women and violent extremism. At Initiate.my, we recognize how women are the first responders in domestic household based on 2 areas. Firstly, they play the role as both groomer and recruiter. Basically, in particular household, they tend to influence those in their household to sympathize with violent extremists. So in a way, more they are enabler within their own household. Secondly, they also play the role as preventer, basically to challenge violent and extremist elements in their household. This is when we talk about in the sense of traditional role of women in household. But at the same time, there is severely lack of research how to actually how to study the involvement of women in Malaysia because of the limited expertise and also the urgency to do so, which is basically the context in Malaysia. At the same time, we also think that there is an urgent need when we talk about extremism, right? We also need to talk about this, the relation to sexual and gender-based violence to extremism. I argue this based on the fact that there is an extreme understanding of religion which is deeply rooted in patriarchal culture and religious and political practice to justify violence against women, which is what we basically tries hard to close the gap to. Third context, let's talk about youth and violent extremism. At Initiative My, this is one of the many focus areas that we do. Last year, during the general election 15, we found that there is a surge of hate and violent extremist content that surrounds the period. Based on this, we think that it is wise to study how many contents on TikTok that are actually promoting hate and violent extremist content. So we study several things that include Muslim victimization, anti-minority sentiments, and call for violence. Youth, we found that youth is the biggest segment as mobilizers and producers of extremist content, especially with regard to call for violence, and especially to the bloody May 13th incident in Malaysia, which is a racial conflict between the Malays and Chinese back then. Also here, I wish to establish in our context that the security threats in Malaysia encompass a lot of things. This includes communism, insurgency, the Jemaah Islamiyah and ISIS. We also have our own domestic extremism, which we try to bring to the table these days. We think that there's a rise of right-wing extremism after the 2018 general election, which this adds to the new complexities of the security landscape. Next. So these are the, next slide please. So these are some of the things that we do document based on research. If you see here, these are several posts with with a high engagement, and I document here, these are the posts that call to be prepared to be engaged in violence. So there's the use of image like keris, if you see that, the Malay dagger, and flags of jihadi Muslims we use here as well to indicate that we have to prepare for war and kesiapsiagaan menggunakan your own senjata. Next slide. We also study the trends of right-wing extremism. These are the several of the major protests that are motivated by religious hatred and racism from the year 2017 to 2019, and we're looking forward to expand this. Next slides. So here are another trend of or cases that we documented at Initiative My. There's a violent attack, attempted attacks that target worship houses in 2010. So what we initially found out that in 2009, December 2009, there's a High Court rulings that specifically say that the word Kalimah Allah only exclusively belong to the Muslims and cannot be used by non-Muslims, right? So there's a lot of fatwas that follow suit, and then after that, in the next month, which is in January 2010, there's been 10 documented attempted and attempted attacks that we document within 1 month that have relation to this, and all of these are targeting to the worship houses all around Malaysia. But the way that the media portrays it, it's just an arson rather than extremist case due to security concerns and public order. Next. So some of the programs that work, next slides, at Initiative My, I would talk about the best practices, why it is important to provide a space for youth And these are some of the programs, and then how it is important to open the doors for multi-stakeholder engagement with not just youth, but also link them with other stakeholders. The first is the Peace Lab for Youth trainings that we engage with a total of 30 youth participants. This is after COVID, so it's mostly online. Surprisingly, there's a lot of government agencies who are part of the 20 participating organizations that are willing to open doors and engage with us and to talk to 30 youth participants that we gathered all around Malaysia from various backgrounds. This is our flagship programs, and we're looking forward to continue it next year under the different name, which is the Peace Lab for Religious Leaders and Thinkers, to basically provide a space for them to understand freedom of religions and belief, PCVE, the advocacy tools, advocacy skills, and counter narrative in their daily life. Next slides. So we have recently also wrapped up strategic communications. There are 3 series this year. Strategic communication training to prevent violent extremism. So there's 2 aspects to this. First is we engage government agencies and CSO. Second is we engage youth. And the main trainer is the famous Dr. Nurhuda Ismail with Yayasan Prasasti Perdamaian, who continuously trained the participants throughout the whole training that focus on critical components such as psychology of communication, analysis of IMV in strategic communications element. And this is the first space also that we managed to have police sit down with us and actually join this training. Next slides. Also most recently, one of the best practice is we have conducted the Train the Trainers course on community engagement for prevention of violent extremism. I established before how now the Special Branch Counterterrorism Division, EA in Malaysia, focuses on 80% preventive actions rather than suppressive. So they are looking towards to engage more with community policing or community engagement in order to be more engaged at the grassroots levels, right? So we do provide the training for them. There's 4 in total this year. We focus on the aspects of community policing, violent extremism, psychology, and investigative interviewing techniques. And at the same time, we have to stress how this is the very first landmark in Malaysia where a CSO collaborate with the law enforcement in the security sectors of Malaysia. The responses have been great, and we were able to build mutual trust, and we're really hoping for this to open more doors with CSO engagement. And lastly, next, when I argue that there is the need to relate conversation about sexual and gender-based violence with extremism, we have also produced a campaign on domestic violence and teenage pregnancy. At the same time, there is a need to actually discuss what aspects of religion that have resulted in the extreme interpretation of texts that eventually subjugated women in any household or in any space, in public space. So these 2 videos can be, you can watch at YouTube or at our website. Based on this, what I've talked about, next slide please. I have few recommendations to make in order to end the discussion today, right? In order to provide this space to more youth, women, and facilitate the process between government and CSO in Malaysia, there are several things that we must emphasize. Firstly, I think we need to provide PCVE training for CSO actors to engage with PCVE elements in their work, because of the work that have been done by both government and CSOs that are focused on PCVE are severely limited and focus on certain things, and there is an issue with human capital. We need to democratize the space to involve more CSOs to engage with this. For example, CSOs that work on human rights, on politics, can also talk about PCVE in their work. And second and third, I would recommend to increase cooperation between government and CSOs. And how to do that is actually to utilize the NAP PCVE, or National Action Plan to Prevent Violent Extremism, as a mechanism to clearly mandate the government and CSO cooperation. Right now in Malaysia, the NAP PCVE is at the final stage, and we're still waiting for it to be finalized. And lastly, to increase transnational cooperation between CSOs, which we have, as I'm here today. This is one of the proof why it's transnational cooperation between CSOs is really important. We have been doing a project with Aman on reintegration program in Malaysia, and none other CSOs have managed to work on this before. And because of the sharing of best practices and what we have learned from each other, we're able to increase more participation between CSOs, government actors, enforcement agencies to start something with regard to reintegration programs for former security detainees in Malaysia. I hope that covers within the given time. Thank you so much. Look forward to the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hisham Muhaimi, for your insightful, valuable discussion. We learned so many things within the short time. There are too many slides. We have to accommodate within the short time of your valuable discussions. If we'll have another platform, we'll learn so many things to you later on. Hope for that. You shared about the initiatives undertaken by the Malaysia. In Malaysia, you follow the hard and soft and multi-stakeholder approaches for violent extremism. And you also share two dimensions, one from women perspectives and another from youth perspectives. Basically, women are involved in violent extremism or being a part of violent extremism in a household. And you have so many interventions in collaboration with government and as well as with the civil society organizations. Now, thank you. I want to extend my thank you to you again. Yeah. So now, I request Ms. Devi Afianti. She is from Steering Committee Working Group on Women and Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism to make her discussion.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here as a representative of Steering Committee of the Working Group of Women and PCVE, or WGWC. We always call it WGWC in Indonesia. So we actually a consortium consisting of 28 CSOs. So we are not a single entity, but we work together in preventing violent extremism by using the gender mainstreaming in any policy and programs. And we try to use also the framework of women, peace, and security in preventing violent extremism and also in implementing the resolution of 242 on the preventing of violent extremism by involving women. So next slide, please. If we see a coin, so there are always two sides. And this also the same like women. When we talk about women and violent extremism, it means we are talking about perpetrators. And on the other side, we talk about the peace builders or peace activists. So we want to embrace all the aspects of multifaceted women in preventing violent extremism by integrating all the pillars that we are working at, like in the pillars of prevention of violent extremism, rehabilitation, social reintegration, as well as in policy advocacy. Next slide, please. Okay, so if we talk about the other side of the coin, it means when women becomes the perpetrators of violent extremism. We see the trend in Indonesia, there is a shifting from in the past, previously, women are only the supporting system for the male perpetrators in terrorism or violent extremism acts. But after the emergence of ISIS, we have seen that women are at the battleground. So women are actively engaged in the operations of terrorism. We see since 2016 and 2017, there are some women involved in the attempts of suicide bombings. Most of them are with the background of migrant workers. And then in 2018, the trends are shifting again from the single woman or married woman, but now involving a family, using their children also. So we see that in 2018 when women and children are involved in the suicide bombing in East Java, in Surabaya, in 3 locations involving 3 families. So we have seen that this is an alarming situation at that time. So we are trying to make sense what's happening at that time, that children are also involved. So we also see the repeating incidents in 2019 when a woman, her husband, and a child also involved in the attempt of assassination of a minister of defense, political and security. And then in the latest one, the 2021, a newlywed couple also blew themselves at the bombings in Makassar in South Sulawesi. So we have seen these trends, and we are trying to gear up our concerted efforts, collaboration with among CSOs as well as government. So we see here, next please, that the key is how to push the agency of women to counter all the narratives, all the attempts of recruitment using all the networks, like the families, like the school-based recruitment and others. So we see that agencies of women should be pushed, and we should provide the enabling environment. And then we also should bear in mind that any elements of the society should be involved. So no one is left behind, including women and youth, in the attempts of prevention of violent extremism. Next. So what are we doing in WGWC, the Working Group of Women and PCVE? Next, please. Hello, slides. Okay, thank you. So since our organization was established in 2017, we have already collaborate with 28 CSOs as well as the ministries and then also institutions or government agencies. And we have made some researches, and then we create some modules and also some policy briefs. So the stakeholders can identify what are the needs that are that should be answered by certain policies. And then we also use the forum like WGWC Talk. So this is a forum, a safe forum, where the actors of violent extremisms, victims, and then prison staff, security apparatus, social workers, and others, they can share their experience in dealing with the situation of violent extremism. And they are freely to talk because this forum is using the Chatham House rules. No secret is being exposed to the outside or to the public. This is a segmented discussion forum. And then after we do the discussion, usually we create the policy briefs, and then we send them to the relevant stakeholders. And then we also have some best practices, sharing stories and others using our knowledge hub using our platform in the website. It's womenandcve.id. And then recently, this year, we have created the matrix of gender analysis on PVE. So later on, I will show you a brief of the matrix, which is developed by Mbak Ruby and also another our friends from other CSOs. But Aman is usually our locomotive for our movement, Aman Indonesia. And then some of our partners also, in cooperation with local government, we have made some early warning systems at the community level, like Empatiku Foundation and C-Safe, as well as Aman Indonesia. It has created the system deteksi dini or early warning system to prevent the violent extremism at the community level. And then Aman Indonesia and Empatiku Foundation have collaboratively conducted a reflective structured dialogue. You can see the book there at the booth of Aman Indonesia about the RISD process. And then after the dialogue, it leads to the establishment of a resilient family program. And then in this year also, WGWC collaborates with Aman Indonesia and the ISPR. We helps the wives of the former terrorist convicts. Their wives are organized themselves, and then they have a voice, their own voice, not their husband's voice. So they can collaborate doing some economic programs, and also how to build organization and how to learn about to organize themselves as well as to voice their thoughts. And then the latest one, our government has issued the NAP, the National Action Program of Preventing Violent Extremism in 2021. And then working group of Women and PCV, or WGWC, with Aman Indonesia has initiated the establishment of Pokja thematic or thematic working group. This is the collaboration between CSOs and government agencies in last year, sorry, not 2023, but 2022. And then we have 7 divisions. The first is gender mainstreaming in PVE division, and then the second one is PVE, what is it? Pencegahan, kesiapsiagaan ya? Yeah, the prevention, prevention division, and then rehabilitation and social reintegration division, as well as youth participation in PVE division. And the 5th is protection of victims and witness division, and the 6th is legal and human rights division, and the last one is the strategic communication division. So in the past 1 year, we have collaborated with more than 35 CSOs to do from the very first prevention until the rehabilitation and reintegration programs for those who are already affected by terrorism or violent extremism groups. Next. So this is our latest products, which is created by Aman Indonesia as well as WGWC. We have developed the matrix gender of analysis on preventing violent extremism. And then we, like I have said before, we focus on how to push the women agencies in preventing violent extremism. And we identify their access, their control, their participation in decision making, their needs, and also whether there are significant others that influence them, and then social and political environment that enables them to do, to join in those groups or to disengage from those groups. So we just not talking about the perpetrators, but also the peace builders. And then we also talk about the self-awareness being critical to any narratives. So I just stop here because we still want to discuss many things after this. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Devi Afianti, for your expert and wonderful discussion. We learned so many things from your discussion. In Malaysia, you have lots of interventions. You shared about all the interventions. You emphasis on empowering women to prevent violent extremism. And you mentioned that perpetrators and the peace builders are the both opposite sides of a coin. So we cannot separate them. So we should design our programs or interventions considering the both parties in our mind. Thank you, Devi Afianti. Our next speaker is Dr. Soyod Mesanthan. He is the Assistant Professor and Director of the Institute of East Asian Studies, Thammasat University. He is with us in online. I request Mr. Dr. Syed Mesanthan to deliver his speech.
Okay. So you hear me? Okay. Okay, first of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and peace be upon you all, and Sawadee Krab. Good evening from Bangkok. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for inviting me to join a very special today, especially to Aman. And also my discussion today is related to our research, and I'm so sorry because I cannot join you by face-to-face in Aceh because I have some important event in Bangkok, but I trying on my best to join this international seminar by show you how PCVE in Thailand. Can you share the slide for me? Or I can share by myself. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So the topic, please go to the first page. Okay, the topic today that I want to discuss to you all is this is a project supported by Aman too. We're trying to make the project. The name of the project is Strong Together in Mainstreaming Gender, Encounter Terrorists, and Preventing Violent Extremism. And we have 4 of our members to run this project in Thailand. First is me as a head of the project, Sister Ampon from the Faculty of Sociology and Anthropology, Dr. Ampa from my institute, and one is Ms. Vilasini Sopapun from King Pachatipok Institute. And please move to the next. Okay. As we know, since 9/11, the concept of preventing violent extremism has been receiving a lot of extension in the country and also in Thailand. As you know, it is a crucial point to start with the review in the Thai 20 years strategy with this country master plan to the better understanding how the idea of preventing or countering violent extremism is being emerged. One important government organization involved is formulating the security strategy plan in the Office of the National Security Council, or NSC. The idea of violent extremism, with what publishes in the Journal of National Security Council, is what highlights that the definition of extremism, which is an ideology or way to thinking. This is important of extremists that organized that show by the policy of the government. Please go to the next slide. And for your understanding, discourse of PVE in Thailand, the trajectory of the guideline of the drafting plan for preventing and countering violent extremism in Thailand to action plan to promote coexistence in multicultural society in Thailand from 2023 or this year to 2027. It took a few years to be implemented with finally launched in the beginning of 2023. It is clear from the state document that Thai government is paying extension to PVE or PCVE or PCRVE, which led to the drafting of the plan on preventing and countering violent extremism. The plan's development guideline is also cover the role of the children and women who play extension role in the prevention of violent extremism, and to see how gender role is widely implemented in the security consideration and how much it is considered in the National Action Plan. This is topic require the future research of what I and my team to do. Please go to the next. And we selected for the research, we selected the two places to understanding meaning of extremist concept of the people living in cross-cultural belief area in the southern border province of Thailand in Panare, Pattani, and also from Khao Nimit community in Rangsit area, Pathum Thani. The Panare in Pattani is very, very interesting because of it is a Malay Muslim majority and the Buddhist is a minority. But however, the Khao Nimit community in Rangsit area, if you know, it is a referral and selected site, a careful measure of impact of assimilation. People in the community hold a history same ethnic with the southern part of Thailand is Melayu, which are related to the people in Pattani. Their ancestors migrated during the war between Siam and Pattani, and they was moved from the southern part to the middle of Thailand. So we should two villages in southern part of Thailand. Buddhist is a minority compared to the middle part of Thailand. Malay is a minority. So please go to the next. Okay, and from the result, we know the view of local that first is intolerance of the different opinion, planting to own ideas or own ideology and being treated or harassed with bias. And lastly, it is a hate speech that especially hate speech in gender, hate speech in the religion too. So we move to the next. So because of the limited time, I move to the conclusion and the recommendation of the local plan. So the strengthening to the power of free speech by allowing network of the citizen and individuals to jointly share skill and knowledge for the community and disseminating necessary information to help local working together. And due to a varied network in a conflict area initiated or established by insiders, there should be a room to share update information regarding human security and related policies in all levels to spreading knowledge with the different sectors, including coordinating and communicating with local government officials and participating with the government in the developing local PVE action plan. So please go to the next slide. Thank you. And third, the mission of security agency that operate the conflict area responded to the central government and the national policies. Why? Local administrative organizations such as a sub-district administrative organization or municipalities and considered government agencies as well. They are close to the civilians. people feel more comfortable to talk, report, and share various events with. Some of them of local people, as you know, so they have knowledge and understanding things on the ground, including access and more information. But these agencies do not have much a role in the security responsibility. So it needs lack of each other, and therefore local authorities should be considered to play leading role with the community via these small agencies in the local area. So next, please. And four, practitioner of a village realize the importance of empowering women and youth to improve their economic and social statuses. This is an important strategy to change a social norm, including put for change a culture or male domination as a means to counter extremism. And five, a future step in protecting women's human rights and the widespread of PVE. The local urge community leaders and local government to organize or invite a resource person in the training or workshop relevant to the context in each area. This kind of platform aims to understanding and realizing the nation of being the others, misogyny, and mechanism of extremism. So go to the next. The progress of human rights can be nexus with the implementation of framework and agendas related to women's inclusion. There are interaction between PCRVE strategy and including agendas, and such efforts are funded actors in the same issues without coordination. So working on PVE and gender mainstreaming can focus on supporting momentum building when it comes to women participation in decision making. And number 7, this is a very interesting that we found an LGBT plus youth in the Deep South are vulnerable group that need to be promoted from any kind of violation. They are excluded from participating in various activities. As you know, are demoted or developed, are blocked from expression themselves. And actually, they actually have a strength in many skills and talents. And there should be a development plan to protect and build up recognition as well as acceptance of LGBT plus youth. Okay, please go to the next slide. And the number 8 and last in number 9, designing local business acceleration program and supporting local PVE related initiatives through small grants aiming at more sustainable solution. This idea is to establish and strengthen prevention centers affiliated with local government administrative structure to work on PVE. In a relate to above point, this can be a key of limitation when the program active depend on local budget funding. Activities are framed on an one-time exercise with no chance to provide tangible impact on idea. Tangible on idea and behavior change. It actually takes more time with consistency and financial support. Therefore, budget from human security, local, planetary, and national level need to engage in cross-sectoral. The program can be convented as part of their professional development. And lastly, from this project, we can show you the strategic communication with gender mainstreaming. First, creating space for discussion to address mistrust and inform the solution. The second is building a common understanding of PVE concept, because of, if you know, there are a lot of people that don't understand what is PVE by the real concept. And number three, a partner with communities and local civil society from the beginning. And this is how we run the project and the output of our project. So please waiting our final report by via Aman. And also we do this project and get the output of this project in the video too, please. Thank you very much.
Sayed Mesantan, for your thoughtful discussion. You shared with us so many things, which is really very interesting, and I thought it will be very useful. We can replicate your ideas in our country, as well as some other Asian countries. They do not have national plan of action on violent extremism. I think it could be helpful for all of us. You mentioned so many insight stories of the National Plan of Action, and we really tremendously benefited from your presentation. So I once again give you thanks from this conference. Thank you so much. Our last discussant is Dr. Safira Mustaqila. I requesting her to present her discussion. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity has given for me. First of all, I praise to the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and peace be upon Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. My honorable to the moderator, all presenters, all participants, and all of the audiences. Well, in this opportunity, I would like to present my research concerning being non-Muslim in a Sharia land, the life story of Christian policewomen in Aceh, Indonesia. I'm so excited today to be part of this international conference and Aman Assembly 2023. And well, my research is conducted in Banda Aceh City. And next, yeah, this the map, please. Before, sebelumnya. Yeah, this is the Aceh province, and my research is conducted in Banda Aceh City, in the tip of Sumatra Island. And I would like to bring up the research to conduct the research to 3 Christian policewomen in Banda Aceh. Okay, here are their life stories. Well, next, yeah. Let us begin with Aceh is the only province in Indonesia that has the privileges to apply the Islamic Sharia through the Kanun or regional regulation of Islamic Sharia of Aceh province in accordance with MPR Decree number 3 MPR 2000 as the legal basis for implementation of Islamic Sharia. Then Kanun number 44 year 1999 about the privileges of Aceh in 4 areas: religion, customs, education, and the role of ulama. And furthermore, the constitution about the Aceh government or UUPA or Undang-Undang Pemerintahan Aceh number 11 year 2006 chapter 17 article 126 verse 1 stated that every Muslim in Aceh must comply with the Islamic Sharia. Well, Aceh has the distinction both in the culture and the characteristic of the people. All of the aspects of life in Aceh based on the Islamic value. But it is undeniable, even though the majority population in Aceh are Muslim, but there are other groups coexisting with them. They are the non-Muslim minority groups. Even though the implementation of Islamic Sharia in Aceh is only obligated for Muslim, but it gives the impact on non-Muslims. Meanwhile, in Article 126, verse 2, stated that everyone who lives in Aceh must respect to the Islamic Sharia. And in Article 127, verse 1 also mentioned that the Aceh province government and the district or city government guarantee the freedom, foster the harmony, and protect the fellow of religious community to worship in accordance to their religion. But the impact still happened. Well, next. Such as the destruction of worship houses as described by Al-Makin Research as the research in 2016. And there is a claim from part people of Aceh that the non-Muslim minority group as if the second-class citizens, as the research by Ikhwan in 2016. And third is their existence both in school and college become a contestation that encouraged the Christian woman to wearing the veil, as the research by Ansar in 2016. Well, based on the phenomena and referring to the previous canon, it indicated that the application of Islamic Sharia in Aceh had impact on non-Muslims. And the previous studies have been written in various perspectives and discussion, but it limited only in the civilians. In fact, the implication is also experienced by the non-Muslim minority group in the police institution to the 3 Christian policewomen. Well, this phenomenon encouraged me to conduct a study on minority groups that have not been studied before, namely in the police institution. Thus, this research aimed to reveal how the responses, the experiences, and to what extent they adapted, and also the strategy they deployed to cope the challenges during living and working with the Muslim societies in Aceh. Yeah, next. Yeah, this study utilized the IPAR theory by Ronald P. Rohner and the construction of identity by Manuel Castell. And as a qualitative research, it used the life story method. And the primary data were obtained through in-depth interview with the 3 Christian policewomen from 3 different police institutions. I'm sorry, I have to obscure all of their identities, namely the LT Polda Aceh, Polsek BTM, and Polsek GR. And all of them are located in Banda Aceh. Okay, next. Yeah, this is the number of policewomen throughout Aceh based on the data in 2018. First, the number of policewomen throughout Aceh, 752 personnel, Muslim and non-Muslims, and they spread all of Aceh. And the number of Muslim policewomen throughout Aceh, 742 personnel, and it also spread throughout Aceh. And the non-Muslim policewomen throughout Aceh, 10 personnel. And the last, the number of non-Muslim policewomen in Banda Aceh, 3 personnel total. Okay, the next. I would like to give you the name of, this is the pseudonym name of 3 Christian policewomen as my informants. First, Elizabeth, and the second is Christina, and the third is Maria. Elizabeth, living in Aceh, living and working in Aceh 8 years, and Christina, 6 years, and furthermore, Maria from birth. Yeah, okay, next. According to this research, there are several positions experienced by the 3 Christian policewomen in Aceh. First, acceptance, in which they receive all the regulation even though they had to obscure their identity as non-Muslim, such as wearing the uniform with the veil, being in a land of ceremony with the Muslim colleges, participating in religious ritual of Muslims, such as Maulid Nabi or celebrating of Prophet birth, fasting together with the Muslim colleges, breakfasting together, or segregation of friendship in the campus after realizing that the policewoman is a Christian, as experienced by Maria, or trying to adapt from a majority group in Papua to be a minority group in Aceh with a total change, as experienced by Christina. And in the picture, I did the interview with the non-Muslim policewomen, and they wearing the veil. And the woman that did not wearing the veil, she's in the investigation department, so she did not wearing the uniform. However, she kept wearing the veil. Okay, next. Yeah, second, rejection. They reject the rules and kept with their principle, as shown by them in the line of ceremony without reciting dhikr and dua, or as shown by Elizabeth to one of her Muslim colleagues who called her kafir, or persuasive conversion to become mu'alaf. Furthermore, Maria indirectly through her WhatsApp status stating that she wanted to be like her non-Muslim friend outside Aceh who wearing the uniform without the veil. Yeah. Next. Yeah, third, negotiation, in which they received the regulation with the exception. For instance, they only wear the veil in the office, in the dormitory, joining Ibu Persid activities, or attending the recitation of Wirid and Yasin in the local environment, but not when they are going to worship at the church. And they also refuse the dress patrol that conducted by Wilayatul Hisbah member or the Sharia police. Yeah, I would like to say that two of the three Christian policewomen, the wife of TNI member, are named by Ibu Persid. Yeah, right. Okay, next. Analyzing the data and related to the Aceh context, such as legitimizing of identity. The identity can be from dominating institution where someone works. For the three Christian policewomen, the police institution cannot form their identity because they only comply with the rule of Sharia, but they did not internalize it. And related to the resistance of identity, Castell described that the resistance or rejection will happen if it is done collectively. But in this research, the three Christian policewomen did the rejection individually. And the last is project of identity. The environment should transform to a new identity. But the three Christian policewomen said that they would not convert to be a Muslim or mu'alaf. Furthermore, they are more pious to their own beliefs as the Christian. Well, next. Yeah. As a conclusion, the attempt that conducted by the three Christian policewomen as the strategy to survive their position in the land of Sharia. They only adopt the dominant culture with the religion based, in which it is different from their identity, but at the same time it strengthens their faith to their own beliefs as the Christians. Thus, the construction of identity here is not as a piety Christian to the Islamic Sharia, however, as the professional policewomen to the regulation. Hence, here it gave birth to a new theory, namely reverse construction of identity. This is my own theory. This theory was born to complement the theory related to the construction of identity, not to refuse the previous theory, nor the collaboration, assimilation, or derivation from other theory. This theory was produced as a process of negotiation of three Christian policewomen that never changed their identity to being a Muslim woman. This is like a camouflage. One example, such as an army or soldier in the battlefield, when they hide in the forest, they blend themselves with the leaves of forest, covering their faces with their dirt and moss, in order to the enemy would not recognize them. Basically, they are human, of course, and never being the planes. They did this strategy to survive their position on the battlefield from the enemy. Therefore, this theory is also accordance to describing the condition of 3 Christian policewomen that survived their position in Aceh. Indeed, they never forced it by the Kanun of Sharia. However, the situation positioned them to being similarly with the Muslim woman. Thus, formally, they can choose. I'm sorry, however, in the reality, they cannot choose. Even though the identity that they express it as a camouflage and never internalizing the Islamic value. Well, next. Next, okay, yeah, next. Yeah, there are some suggestions. First, to the police institution to review the value uniform for Christian policewomen and to provide the worship facilities for them to in religious teaching activities or bimbingan rohani for them. Second, to the Aceh government. It is necessary to involve the non-Muslim minority group in constructing the Kanun and to provide the special food stall facilities for them in the Ramadan month. Last but not least, the study on minority group has not been completed. There are so many problems to be solved in academic and multidisciplinary sciences, in academic and multidisciplinary sciences, and in the large number of respondents or in the non-Muslim policeman group in Nangro Aceh, Darussalam. Well, this is the end of my brief presentation, and yeah, next. If Prof. Emilia just now give us the poem, and I also would like give you the poem from Aceh. Pat ranup nyang hana mirah, how is a battle without the red who possible? Pat penerah nyang hana bajo, nor is it possible for a filter without fastener? Pat narit nyang hana salah, where is the speech without veiler? Nyokan di awai, tentai bak duduk. If not in the beginning, indeed surely in the end. Terima kasih. Well, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Safira Mustakila, for your thoughtful and valuable discussion. You share with us your prestigious research findings and as well as the recommendations which enriched our working area so that we can design our programs, our next steps following your research findings. So now I want to open the floor for the audience. Do you have any question? Please proceed on. Please mention the name to whom you proceed your question and want to respond. Do you have any questions or supplements? Yes. Please mention your name and also mention the name of speaker to whom you want to ask question.
So my name is Anam from University of Mataram, Lombok. So basically I have two questions. The first question I would pose to the first speaker, Bang Hisam. Yeah. And the second question would be to Bu Debbie. So first thing first, I do really agree with the third speaker from Thailand. I would like to elaborate between the third speaker and the first speakers. It's really, it's quite interesting topics to be discussed. That the first things, I really agree in regard to the idea of lacking of understanding of governments and academia toward the local people in understanding the extremism, terrorism, and so on and so forth. We tend to believe that the idea of extremisms, terrorisms, radicalisms in the single definitions published by the social media, by the government, by the academia. But we are lacking of information understanding that the local people, do they have a similar understanding of the regime that we are living now about the idea of the extremism itself. There's a research that conducted by the researcher in University of Tego, collaborating with the researcher in UK. They try to research the understanding of extremism of people in the London. So it is found that there is a slightly different understanding of the everyday life of local people toward the idea of extremisms. So it is in contrast of what we are believing about the idea of extremisms and radicalisms. So yeah, related to the first speakers about your actions, activisms on how to countering and prevent extremisms, my question would be, have you ever talked to the local people or people who tend to involve in those kind of extremisms through their aspect of social psychological aspect? Because we tend to believe that CSOs and NGOs bring a blueprint, and we believe that those kind of blueprint will going well by implementing them to the local or people who are suspected to be involved in extremisms. But have you ever doing something by touching the aspect of social psychological personal aspect of the people, asking questions, do you understand what kind of extremism? Why do you involve on this kind of extremism? Do you find that something different between your understanding of extremism and those kind of people understanding of extremism and radicalisms? Have you ever trained the people in your activities how their communication skill in approaching those kind of people? Have they touched something very personal and psychological way that why they involve in those kind of extremism and radicalisms? So that's the first questions. The second questions, in regard of the women in either the perpetrators or peace builders. So either women become a perpetrator or peace builders is always influenced by the male dominations, the patriarchal culture, isn't it? So with this kind of assumption, and I believe those kind of assumption because we're still surrounded by the male dominations, the patriarchal culture of Indonesian or other part of the world. So how in your programs, when women become a perpetrator or peace builder, facing this kind of male dominations, if they are perpetrators, how male domination or patriarchal culture influence them become a perpetrators, and when they are a peace builder, how they are facing a challenge of male domination or patriarchal culture in bringing a change in their social surroundings to create a social change because they have to face male domination or patriarchal culture. So that's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you for your nice, wonderful, thoughtful question with giving so many information and facts. Thanks. Okay, Mr. Hissam Muhaimi, can you respond?
Thank you so much, Pak. I have to agree with you, actually. Sometimes when we do this kind of work, in Malaysia, for example, a lot of things that we try to break down the nuances of extremism, it is a hard thing to do because, like I said before in my presentation, the actors or CSOs or any stakeholders that work on this, the advocacy of PCVE to prevent yourself or the society from, to increase social resilience or understand CVE, for example, is really hard because of the limited capacity that we have. But when we try to have trainings with the public, with anak-anak muda, for example, right, ataupun dengan orang-orang awam yang lain, when we ask them what do you consider of extremism, usually they will conflict between three things: fundamentalism, extremism, terrorism. There's also another thing, conservatism. When without this public education, which I would personally say that this is the duty of the ministries in Malaysia, whether it's Home Minister or Education Minister, it should be in the public education in spaces. Like, for example, I talk about these issues with police when we do trainings, right? When we talk about larangan merokok, for example, you see there's a lot of signs out there. So they know that it is dangerous. When we talk about extremism, some people might perceive it as something that is so different than their own belief. A Sunni Muslim in Malaysia might see that Shia is considered extreme according to their own interpretation. But to a normal layman, for example, who don't understand, a bombing is considered extremism when in fact it is extremism. So in doing this, we really try to expose to the public that extremism or radicalization itself is a process. We are talking about fundamentalism, which is just belief to the idea. In the middle, we have extremism, which is where when you have that idea, you impose that towards a person. So that's extreme, regardless of whatever it is. But when you use violence, that is considered as terrorism. So these three things is not the same and should not be conflated with each other. Also, at the same time, when I talk about this, advokasi di Malaysia selalunya tertumpu di bandar-bandar Kuala Lumpur dalam bahasa Inggeris. Jadi orang-orang awam susah untuk faham. It's hard for them to understand and at the same time to relate to them with their own life. That's why, for example, if there's extremist content on social media yang paling banyak di Malaysia contoh, di mana-mana saja, tend to be conflated. I guess that's my answer. I hope that's enough.
Okay, thank you. Pak Anam used to be my old friends. In 2014, if I'm not mistaken, we met in Kuala Lumpur, in Mahathir Global Peace School. So how to identify how the women as perpetrators and women as peace builders can, face the male domination in the patriarchal culture. So in our working group of women in PCVE, we use the thing that we think the most important in everyone's self. It's the agency, how to be able to conduct by their own authority, by their own self-awareness. So we try to treat anybody in our partners, clients as a perfect convicts. They are treated very, very fairly as human beings. So they are not treating these prisoners, female prisoners, as using the approach of dogmatic doctrines, religious doctrines, debates, but using very, very simple things like talking about children and others. So these female prisoners then get trust to the wali, the pendamping, the prisoner staff. So after they are gaining trust, and then they can build their own self-confidence, and then they can think critically to the Amir's narratives, to the doctrines by their husbands or their leaders. And one of the forum like WGWC Talk, it also provides the forum for this female perpetrator to share her ideas. And then she thinks that through this forum, she is able to voice what her thoughts, and then she is able to think critically, and then she decides to disengage from the organization. So based on the forum and also based on the support from the prisoner staff. So we cannot treat any single perpetrator or peace builders with the same things. So we cannot generalize any recipes. So we just flow by the time. One person can have a different process. So what we are trying to do is just cultivating the critical thinking in any peace builder activists, as well as the former deportees, returnees, or prisoners. Like in Depok, there is a former returnee, Dania. So she brought 25 members of her family to Syria while she was still 18 years old. And then after she was joining Aman Indonesia Reflective Structured Dialogue, and then she gains trust from her society members, and then she can also influence her family members to reintegrate to the society. And then the society can also trust her families to live side by side in the community. So we cannot use any specific recipes for that. So we just treat them case by case. So, it depends also to our partner CSOs. They have their own also approaches. But we just do the facilitation. Okay, is it clear? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Devi Afianti, for your nice response. Do you have any questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Okay, salam and good afternoon. I have, I think, 2 questions. The first question is specific for the 4th speaker. And the second question is more general to, I think, all, or maybe the first 3 speakers. So I'll go with the first question first, which is about the minority police women in Aceh. What I want to know is a kind of expansion of what you're doing. I don't think, or maybe I missed it, I don't know whether you shared the demographic data of the minority in Aceh. Yeah, so what are the actual numbers of the minority groups in Aceh, if you're talking about Catholics or Protestants? And then, we're talking about the policewomen, but what about other uniform bodies? Are the same laws being applied to other uniform bodies in Aceh? And are there minorities in these uniform bodies as well? And how are they affected by the Sharia implementation in Aceh? Do you hear my question? Okay. And then the second question is the general one to the first 3 speakers. Okay, so the second question, we are awaiting any moment now for the Israeli soldiers to enter northern Gaza. I really think that we are entering a PCVE 2.0 phase after this, which a lot of what we're doing in terms of counter narratives have to be relooked at closely. What do you think will be the new challenges in terms of counter narrative in relation to this new crisis that we have now, in relation to the potential of it radicalizing members of societies, whether they are Muslims or right-wing, in other civilizational or religious contexts as well? Thank you.
So,
sorry, my name is Daniel. I'm from IIUM.
Yeah. Okay,
You
thank you. I'll try to answer the question from, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Can you precise your question to her?
No. Okay, I'll try to answer your question. Something that I can get the point about the number of non-Muslim in Aceh, right? As we know, Aceh is the majority population. The majority population, sorry, I mean the Muslim in Aceh is the majority population than other groups such as non-Muslim and other ethnicity or race. Yeah. About the percent, I mean it's approximately 95% Muslim and other non-Muslim. And we can see in the institutions such as Mora or Ministry Religious, the employee or how to say ASN, civil servant, yeah, more than Muslim than non-Muslim. Yeah, I think that's all that I can answer about the number of Muslim and non-Muslim in Aceh. And the important is the majority population in Aceh are Muslim because Aceh implement the Islamic Sharia. Yeah. And the second question about uniform, especially in the police institution, before the Mabes Polri send the uniform throughout Indonesia, especially for Aceh, available with the uniform with the veil. So we cannot deny that the non-Muslim policewomen also wearing the veil such as the Muslim policewomen personnel. And they have the reason why wearing the veil with the uniform. When I did the interview with several non-Muslim policewomen, especially 3 of them in Banda Aceh, there are 3 reasons. First, to respecting the implementation of Islamic Sharia in Aceh, because when they place it with many reasons, because follow their husband, or maybe by their own taste, place it in Aceh, especially in Banda Aceh. So they would like to respect the implementation of Islamic Sharia. And second, because in the police institution, the seniority is something very important. So to obey their senior, because there is the story, one of the non-Muslim policewomen, when they are in the market, would like to bring something and meet with her senior. And her senior asked her, why you don't wearing the veil? Because, and then she answered, I'm non-Muslim, I'm Christian. No, this is Aceh and implement the Islamic law, so you should wearing the veil. And this is continue to for tomorrow in the office, and she asked again to the woman why she did not wearing the veil. And after that, that woman, that non-Muslim policewoman wearing the veil in everywhere, not only in the office. And the last is they would not want to look different from others, especially to the Muslim personnel. Yeah, I think that's all that I can answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your cordial response to the question from audience. We are already far behind from the time. Yeah, but Debbie want to respond to your second question. Okay.
Not the second question.
Oh no,
Just
she want to add something more from
I
for
just
first one.
add the numbers of the minorities that you need the numbers, right? The percentage. Okay, the majority of Aceh population are Muslim, about 98.91%. This is the data from 2020. And then the other religious minorities are Christian, 0.79%. And then Catholic 0.19%, and then Buddhist 0.11%, Hinduism 0.00%. There is none of Hindus here. Okay, that's my additional.
So thank you, Ms. Devi Afianti. You mentioned a specific number for the ratio of the religious people in Aceh. So I have to conclude the session here. May I Mr. Dr. Syed Mesantan Are you still with us online? Hello? Dr. Soyod Mesantan? Are you online or leave? I think he left the discussion. Okay, I have to conclude here. I should must thank to our distinguished enriched panelist discussant for their thoughtful, experienced presentation. And I also thank to the audience who are present here with lots of patience, and they make the session through vibrant discussion and question. And I once again thanks to all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Goodbye.
Thank you very much to Ms. Shahin Arabegum for facilitating the session. And also thank you to all of the experts for giving us so many insights about dialogue on violent extremism and the involvement of women and youth. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the next session. It's the delivering of token appreciation, which will be handed by Mr. Khalid Abdul Samad as Aman Council of Sri Lanka. We are pleased to invite all of the speakers and also moderator to join us in the main stage. Thank you so much for all of the speakers and also moderator. Please give a round of applause. So all of the speakers and also moderator, please stay because we're going to invite all of you as a participant to join in the main stage because we're going to take a photo group session. Again, I invite all of you to join us in the main stage for photo group session. Thank you. Thank you to all distinguished participants. You may take your seat back. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are in the end of this session. We want to express our sincere gratitude for your presence and participation today. We also do apologize if there is a mistake that we did during the session. We hope you enjoy experiencing this international conference and Aman Assembly in Aceh. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
In order to create a space for the exchange of ideas among Muslims and people of other faiths and beliefs, 500 individuals from 20 countries have gathered in Aceh over the course of 2 days at the Auditorium Ali Hashimi of the State Islamic University, UIN, Ar-Raniry, from October 14th to 17th, 2023. Representatives from around the world have come together. These representatives hail from Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, Burundi, India, Indonesia, Iran, Kenya, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Sweden, Thailand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Aceh is no longer defined solely by disasters and conflicts. Since the Helsinki Peace Agreement, Aceh has experienced rapid development. Religious inclusion is a shared mission. This international conference discusses and analyzes the state of international religious freedom and inclusion in Asia as a means to understand the achievements of the Muslim community in promoting religious freedom, tolerance, and peace, including support for women's leadership in peace building. There will be specific discussions on women, peace, and security by worldwide Muslim leaders. Prominent peace activists are also in attendance, such as Kutub Jahan Kidwai, Venerable Napan, Ihsan Ali Fauzi, and Hamsatu Alamin, who have received prestigious awards. Together, we are moving toward a more inclusive and peaceful world. International Conference and Aman Assembly, Religious Inclusion and Peace Building in the World, The Perspectives of Muslims, October 14 to 17, 2023.